to validate someone's feeling, which means that you want to hear, no, you are not crazy, right? So that means validating something, validation is a process of validating something. That means making it acceptable, making it legal, making it reliable. And we have discussed this as well, that the validation can be divided into different phases, and the phases are the design qualification, installation qualification, operational qualification, performance qualification. Design qualification, if you remember that we have discussed in the previous lecture as well, and we said that the design qualification is all about that if you are designing a machine, or if you are designing a process, or if you are designing any synthesis process, आप उसको उसका डिज़ाइन जो है वो जो भी आपने प्री प्लान पॉइंट्स हैं उनके मुताबिक कर रहे हैं, और जो भी उसकी रिक्वायरमेंट्स हैं उसके हिसाब से है, और पूरा उसको फुलफिल कर रहा है. सो ऑल अबाउट द डिज़ाइन ऑफ द प्रोसेस और डिज़ाइन ऑफ अ मशीन, that will be considered in the design qualification. The next is the installation qualification. We used to call IQ for installation qualification, and OQ for operational qualification, and PQ for the performance qualification. These are the rest of the phases of the validation, which are going to be discussed in today's lecture. After discussing the validation and design qualification, now today we are going to start with the installation qualification. Installation qualification, IQ, is actually the process of checking the installation, right? So you can say that this is a documented process. Installation qualification, this is a documented process that verifies that all aspects of facility, utilities, and equipment that affect the product quality adhere to the approved design specification, right? That is कि आपकी जो भी facility है, जो भी utilities हैं, जो भी equipment है, जिसके मुतालिक भी आप बात करने जा रहे हैं, वो जो भी आपका प्रूफ डिज़ाइन क्वालिफिकेशन जहाँ से आप होते हुए इंस्टॉलेशन क्वालिफिकेशन पे पहुँचे उसके हिसाब से है. एंड दैट द पीस ऑफ द इक्विपमेंट और इंस्ट्रूमेंट, इफ़ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट एन इंस्ट्रूमेंट, हैज़ बिन प्रॉपरली डिलीवर्ड एंड करेक्टली इंस्टॉल्ड, राइट? So you can say that this is if you go towards the FDA definition, that installation qualification is establishing by objective evidence that all key aspects of the process, equipment, and the system that adheres to manufacturer's approved specification, and that the recommendation of the supplier of the equipment आर जो भी हैं उसकी जो भी रिकमेंडेशन है उसके हिसाब से, और जो भी मैन्युफैक्चरर है उसकी जो भी स्पेसिफिकेशन है उसके हिसाब से आपका जो इंस्ट्रूमेंट है वो इंस्टॉल किया गया है. सो IQ वेरीफाइज दैट ऑल अबाउट एन इंस्ट्रूमेंट और यूनिट ऑफ इक्विपमेंट हैव बीन इंस्टॉल्ड according to the manufacturer's specification or installation checklist, right? So whatsoever the specifications given by the manufacturer or the checklist provided by the manufacturer for the installation, आपका जो इंस्ट्रूमेंट है या अगर आप कोई एक यूनिट इंस्टॉल करें तो that is according to the that specification or that checklist. Installation qualification also ensures that the components of the process meet the approved specification and are installed correctly, right? So if you are talking about a process, तो हम process के मतलब भी ये कहते हैं कि this process is going on, this is installed according to the approved specifications, and this also checks how related information is recorded correctly, all the related information regarding the installation of the process, installation of the machine, installation of unit, जो भी कोई चीज़ है उसकी जो भी सारा आपने इंफॉर्मेशन है वो भी इंस्टॉलेशन से रेलेवेंट, मतलब जो स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम द मैन्युफैक्चरर्स स्पेसिफिकेशन एंड देन द इंस्टॉलेशन चेकलिस्ट एंड देन द प्रोसेस ऑफ द इंस्टॉलेशन, all the things, all the steps are recorded correctly, are done correctly, and then recorded correctly. Both the things are important. Okay. Continuing the same topic, the purpose is to ensure that all the aspects of the facility, if you are talking about any service, right, or equipment, if you are talking about an equipment or instrument, comply with the original design. Original design was given by the manufacturer, right? So first of all, you gave the requirement that you need this type of facility or you need this type of instrument, and then manufacturer took those guidelines, और फिर उसके बाद उसने आपको एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट गाइड किया कि ये है वो इंस्ट्रूमेंट जो कि आपको चाहिए, and then what you did is that you took that instrument and the guidelines, right, and the guidelines regarding the original design. So the main purpose of IQ is to ensure that all the aspects of the facility or the equipment comply with the original design. The working environment conditions are also important, and we say that the working environment conditions after installation are documented and checked to ensure that all these are suitable for the further operation of the instrument. Definitely, when you have installed the instrument, you are going to use it for the future. So now the important thing is that working environment should be according to the requirement of the original design of the machine, right? So these two should be compatible with each other. This is a diagram which is interpreting the installation qualification more in detail. So just look at the center of this diagram, installation qualification, and in the second circle few things are given, like power up is important, power supply, power up is important while you are doing the installation. Verification of the environment, we have discussed in the previous slide that the working environment and the environment where you are installing the machine, the instrument, verifying that this will match with the requirement where the machine can work easily, this is also important. And then comparing the instrument with the purchase order, this is also important. When you have installed your machine, you have to compare your instrument with the purchase order. The two should match with each other, right? So this is important thing. The third circle, which is giving a bit more guideline about the installation qualification. The first heading over there is installation support. Installation support is important when you are installing a machine in an environment. तो जो भी उसको support चाहिए, for example a UPS backup in the case of power failure, right? So installation support, logbook where you can keep the record of the machine, when you worked, कितनी देर के लिए आप उसको यूज कर रहे हैं और कब से कब तक यूज कर रहे हैं, कब से यूज कर रहे हैं, all the details are usually given in the logbook, right? And operating instructions, these are very important when anybody is working on machine. Excuse me, operating instructions are also important, or rather I must say this, that these are most important. The operating instructions should be very clearly displayed with the machine, so that if somebody has some confusion, it can check the operating instructions and can work well with the machine. Now this is the continuation of the previous slide, right? Installation qualification establishes that the instrument is received as designed, we have discussed, right, and specified, that is properly installed in the selected environment. The environment should be selected carefully, and then the installation should be done properly. So you have to check it, this point as well, and that the environment is suitable for the operation and use of the machine. Environment where you have installed, before installation you have to check the environment, and then after installing again check the environment that is it suitable, कोई किसी किस्म का मसला तो नहीं आ रहा, कोई अननोन मसला, कोई अननोन फैक्टर जो पहले ना आपने सोचा. So you have to check the environment before the installation and after the installation for the suitability of the operation. Okay. Now, what are the focus areas while doing the installation qualification? Many of them we have discussed earlier, but still, just for a quick review, I am going to discuss them again, but quickly, right? So now. The following are the points or the areas which should be focused. Number one, location of the installation and necessary floor area. Definitely the area where you are putting the machine and installing the machine, that is important, that should be proper. Second point, documentation, any and all computer controlled instruments. अच्छा, अब इसमें ये है कि if your machine is equipped with or helped by any other computer controlled instrumentation or instrument, what you have to do is you have to keep the documentation about your equipment and about all the related computer controlled instruments and equipments which are helping this machine. Gathering all manuals and certifications. Now, before starting the installation and during installation, you must be knowing that um, if there are any manuals or certifications which are being provided by the manufacturers or the company which is providing you or the vendor. So any manuals, any certifications which are relevant with the machine, the equipment, you must be having those all, and you must be gathering all those, and you must be keeping them in a proper way, right? Properly unpacking and cross-checking the instrument. This is important. If you are getting something for your home, even you properly unpack the thing, right? So when you are dealing with a big machine, a big costly machine, a big costly instrument, definitely properly unpacking and cross-checking the instrument, that what you have ordered, you have got the thing and properly unpacked it. This is important. Next is examining the instrument and components for damage. If the machine or the equipment is damaged during the transport or installation, that is not affordable. So you have to properly examine the instrument and its components, whether any damage in the components or the machine or not. You have to examine it. Next point is ensuring the correct power supply. If your machine is asking for a certain value of power supply, you have to provide it. That is the requirement of the machine. Documenting the serial number. Okay, this is important. For example, if you have that kind of machine, already you have that kind of machine in your lab, so that will be you have to give the serial number that this is the second machine, right? This is the second. If you already have 3 or 4 machines, you have to give a proper serial number, right? Environmental and operating conditions, these are important. Whatsoever is given in the manual or the operating conditions or SOP, you have to fulfill and you have to maintain those conditions. Checking the software system installation and accessibility, you have to check that the software system which is associated with your equipment, that should be installed properly along with the machine, right? And that should be accessible. Okay. Recording the calibration and validation dates of tool used for IQ. Whenever you are calibrating it, whenever you are installing it, whenever you are validating it, you have to keep the record of all the dates. The last point which is important is verifying the connections and communications with the peripheral units. You need to verify all the connections. You need to verify all the communications with all the peripheral units so that you can work and you can perform well with that machine. Now, before installation, a few things before going to the next point, I was thinking to discuss with you people is, before installation, what you can do is that obtain the manufacturer's recommendation. This is important because he or she is working with the machines, and he or she is selling the machine, and know that how it can work well and where it can work well. So it's better to get manufacturer's recommendation for the installation, and then check the site for the fulfillment of the manufacturer's recommendation. Whatsoever he is recommending, the manufacturer is recommending, just check the recommendations, and according to the recommendations, check out that the site is fulfilling those recommendations. For example, the electricity, water, gas, plus the environmental conditions such as humidity, temperature, dust condition, etc., etc. So you need to fulfill the recommendations. That will increase the lifespan of your machine. The next is operational qualification. Operational qualification can be defined as a series of tests which ensure that equipment and its subsystems will operate within their specified limits consistently and dependably. Right? So you can say that the operational qualification protocol is a collection of test cases used to verify the proper functioning of a system, right? So the operational qualification OQ tests requirements are defined in the functional requirement specification. Operational qualification is usually performed before the system is released for use, right? This is very important. This is usually performed uh, before the system is released for use by the customers, by the consumers. Okay, or in other words, if you are talking about an instrument, तो हम ये कहेंगे कि operational qualification is usually performed before the instrument is handed over for use, right? So the purpose is to ensure that all the dynamic attributes comply with the original design of the machine, or original design of the work. Okay, so each of the instruments function are checked to ensure that they conform to the manufacturer's specification. This is important. If you confirm before proper functioning of the machine, what you get from it is that in the long run you are not going to face any difficulty, and it will be working smoothly and nicely. Okay, so depending upon your needs and the complexity of the system, operational qualification can be combined with the installation qualification, or even the performance qualification, which is the next one, right? So operational qualification can be paired up with the previous qualification and with the upcoming qualification, just for making the things more smoother and making the system more nicely working. Okay, so operational qualification should be approved before the protocol execute, right? जो भी protocol आप follow करने जा रहे हैं उसको execute करने से पहले आप what you have to do is you have to approve the operational qualification. Each of the system's functions are checked in the operational qualification to ensure that they conform to the manufacturer's specification. Okay, अगर हम इसको easy words में कहें तो हम ये कहेंगे कि हम उसको ऑपरेट करके देखते हैं, इंस्टॉल करने के बाद ऑपरेट करके देखते हैं प्रॉपर उस सिस्टम को, उस मशीन को सिस्टम में स्टार्ट करने से पहले। ठीक हो गया ना? उसकी ऑपरेशनल जो भी पूरी प्रॉपर्टीज है उसको हम चेक करते हैं और हम देखते हैं कि ये सिस्टम जो भी हमारी मैन्युफैक्चरर्स स्पेसिफिकेशंस थी, दिस इज गोइंग according to those specifications, or it is making some error. Okay, if you are talking about operational qualification with reference to machine, right? So this will include the use of certified and traceable electrical signals, because the machines are usually working with reference to the signals, right? Output input दोनों usually signals होते हैं, बहुत सारी मशीन्स में, और बहुत सारी मशीन्स में जो उसका आउटपुट होता है वो सिग्नल होता है, इनपुट नहीं होता. सो वी हैव वैरायटी ऑफ मशीन्स. ओके, सो दिस इंक्लूड्स द यूज ऑफ सर्टिफाइड ट्रेसेबल इलेक्ट्रिकल सिग्नल्स and standards to verify that the equipment is processing the input signals correctly, because in that case input and output both are the signals. So the operational qualification will be targeting the signals. So what we have to do is we have to process the input signals and we have to check that they are being processed correctly. And if you are talking about the operational qualification with reference to pharmaceutical process, in that case operational qualification will be essential process during the development of the things you are doing, often used by the pharmaceutical companies. Okay, so operational qualification can simply be defined as, or described as, or discussed as a series of tests which ensure that the equipment or the process and its subsystems are operating within the specified limits consistently and dependably. Right, हमने ये बात बहुत सारी दफ़ा कर दी है कि this is actually all about the operation of the process or operation of the machine. Okay, now this is the part of the pie chart where we have steps or the phases of the qualification, of the validation. And now right now we are discussing the operational qualification in that pie chart. So the main in the center is the operational qualification, and in the second row you can see the system suitability tests with reference to operation. Right, okay, so minimum weight determination. If you are working with reference to a machine and equipment, definitely you must be knowing this thing as well. And initial calibration with reference to all the process, all the procedures, all the signals of that machine. Okay, the next circle is talking about the calibration certificate, measurement uncertainty test, minimum weight determination. So this is the story about the operational qualification. We have discussed all these things in the previous slides in very detail. Few more factors regarding the operational qualification. Okay, let's discuss one by one. Number one, temperature control and variations. Very important. Usually the machines have an appropriate range of temperature where they can work more nicely and precisely, and their age will be more if you are giving them a proper temperature to work. So the temperature control in that environment during the operation and the possible variations, these should be checked and these should be managed. Okay, and then the second point is servo motors and the air flaps. These are the relevant helping aids कह लें आप इसको, या machinery कह लें इसको, helping machinery कह लें with reference to the equipment. Okay, temperature protection systems. This is important. If temperature is varying in wide range, then the temperature protection system is important. Card readers and access systems. If you are working with the machine and the IT is involved in that case, yes, card readers and access systems are also important. Pressure and vacuum controllers, these are important because you are working with the machines. So these are all actually the relevant machineries. A bit more you can say about the mechanical machinery or mechanical work we are talking about. Temperature distribution in different areas, display units and signaling the LEDs if the computers are attached. Okay, carbon dioxide controls because it can affect the temperature and it can affect the machine. Humidity measuring and control because in some machines ह्यूमिडिटी इज ऑल्सो इम्पॉर्टेंट, क्या ह्यूमिडिटी लेवल है वो भी आपको कंट्रोल करना पड़ता है. फैन एंड फैन स्पीड कंट्रोलर्स, दिस इज अनदर इम्पॉर्टेंट फंक्शन with reference to the temperature and with reference to the environment, working environment over there. Performance qualification. Performance qualification is also known as process qualification, and this is a main step or main phase of the validation, right? So this is the process of testing to ensure that the individual and combined systems function to meet agreed performance criteria on constant basis, and to check how the results of the testing can be achieved, right? So what is the requirement of the performance qualification? That is कि जो भी आपका whatsoever the individual system is or the combined system is, that is working, that is functioning, that system's function is meeting the performed, जो भी आपका performance criteria agreed upon, जो भी performance criteria, it is meeting that agreed performance criteria on the constant basis. ये नहीं है कि एक दफ़ा कर लिया एक दफ़ा नहीं कर लिया. It should be meeting the agreed performance criteria on the constant basis, and also to check how the result of the testing can be achieved and can be reported, right? So the process is to ensure that the criteria specified can be achieved on a reliable basis over a period of time, on the constant basis and over a period of time, right? So the process qualification is actually, you can say that this is like a test protocol, and this test protocol is used to provide the objective data, and that data is actually indicating whether an existing or proposed manufacturing process, मतलब अब जो process है वो existing को भी आप process qualification के through गुजार सकते हैं, and proposed अगर कोई आप propose कर रहे हैं उसको भी proposed manufacturing process, and that is meeting or that is going to meet the minimum requirement for the applicable manufacturing standards, or you can call them applicable manufacturing specifications, right? So process qualification generally follows a few steps, and in those steps you are trying to check that the systems, the workings, the functions are meeting the minimum criteria whatsoever you and your stakeholders are agreed upon, उसको वो meet कर रहा है और continuously meet कर रहा है, and then over a period of time you will be checking and you will be saying that yes, it is reliable and it is reliable over a period of time. ठीक है? Now, the PQ, performance qualification, the performance of the equipment for the process for its routine analytical use is checked to ensure that complies with its specification. Okay, and then the process of demonstrating that an instrument consistently performs according to a specification which is appropriate for its routine work in a process, in an industry, in a service. The part of the pie chart which is guiding us towards the performance qualification. In the center you can see the performance qualification in the first circle, and in the second circle you can see the setup, test, SOP, standard operating procedures, right? So whatsoever the setup for the performance qualification, the standard operating procedure is, you have to check it out. Routine performance tests, if you have defined some routine performance tests, you have to go through those routine performance tests as well. And then training of the user, this is very important. If there is any change or any new user, you must be arranging the trainings of the users on the regular basis, right? In the third circle you can see the other important factors regarding the performance qualification, the customer seminars seminars in which you are guiding the customers, logbook in which you are keeping the data, you are keeping the information according to the guidelines of the manufacturer about the performance, advises in the SOP writings जो भी आपको as standard operating procedure है उसके अंदर if you are writing something there are always a proper guideline about those writings. Application support, application of the system, application of the instrument, whatsoever the support is required, that the detail is given, and the weights you are using. If these are the जो उसकी कहना चाहिए उसकी सानवी जो ज़रूरियात है मशीन पे परफॉर्मेंस की, weights are one of them, right? Now, performance qualification, a bit more detail regarding the performance qualification. Manufacturing conditions such as equipment limits, operating parameters, and component inputs, these are the relevant factors when you are working on the performance qualification. A through list of the data that should be recorded or analyzed during tests, calibrations, and validation. Okay, tests to ensure consistent quality throughout the production. This is very important. One of the key factors which are important while recording the performance qualification are a few of them are more important, and this is one of them, that the tests to ensure the consistent quality throughout the production. A sampling plan detailing the sampling methods used during and in between the production batches, right? And then the analysis methodology for making data, scientific and risk-oriented decisions based on the statistical data. These all are important. What you have to do is you have to keep the record of all these things while you are doing the performance qualification, so that it can be done more accurately and more precisely. Now, the performance qualification PQ should always be performed under the conditions that are similar to the routine sample analysis. That means it will be important that if you are doing your performance qualification under all those conditions which are similar to the routine sample analysis. If you are doing the performance qualification in a bit different conditions, no, that will not worth working on it, right? Performance qualification should be performed on daily basis or at least weekly basis, or whenever the instrument is used. If the instrument is not in use on daily basis or on weekly basis, whenever you are using the instrument, you have to do the performance qualification, and you have to keep the record of performance qualification, and it will be helping you in maintaining the instrument for a longer time. Okay. Now, the performance qualification, a few more things. Test frequency depends not only on the stability of the equipment, but also on everything in the system that may contribute to the analysis results. Right? So when you are performing on a machine, you are performing on an equipment, they're saying that the performance qualification test frequency depends not only on the stability of the equipment, but also on everything associated in the system that may contribute to the analysis results. So you have to consider the equipment and all relevant things while you are doing the performance qualification or the process qualification, right? 3 important steps. Number 1, define the performance criteria. What is your required criteria? What is the criteria given by the manufacturer? What is the criteria given by the consumer? What is the defining line? According to that defining line, you have to define your performance criteria first thing. Now, the second thing, select the parameters which can affect your performance criteria and the associated things, right? So you must be selecting all the things which are important with reference to the performance qualification. And then third, define the test intervals. So whenever when the test is required to be performed, or when the test should be performed. You have to define the test intervals that after this much time the performance qualification tests should be performed. So these three steps are very important. These three factors are very important with reference to the performance qualification. The first thing was you have to define the criteria. क्या चीज़ meet करनी है, क्या चीज़ important है, क्या gain करना है, क्या criteria है, right? The second thing is all the parameters, all the factors, all the associated relevant factors. You have to select them, and you have to properly define them, and you have to properly give the protocol that how these parameters will be tested during the process. Okay, and then you have to give the intervals, the time definition, that after this much time this test will be performed, and by this you can give all the necessary detail of the performance qualification of our process. A summary of the roles which are performed by the all four phases. DQ, design qualification, means it is planned and bought as it was specified in the design, as it was designed and specified in the design. IQ, installation qualification, means showing it is set up, connected and installed as planned. OQ, the operational qualification, means showing it works as intended in all respects. And last, the performance qualification PQ means that it's showing that it delivers the overall desired performance. It is delivering the overall desired performance or not. You are testing it and you are keeping the record of it. Now we have discussed the validation, the phases of validation. The first phase was the design qualification, and then the installation qualification, and then the operational qualification, and then the performance qualification. And after all this healthy, nice discussion, what you people have to do is you have to answer a question. The question first is, can you comment which phase is more important? While performing the validation process, you have gone through all the phases. Which phase is more important? And you have to give a proper reason, logic of your answer, right? So this is a reason based question कि आपको मुझे बताना है कि ये फेज है और उसकी वजह ये है. और अगर आपके ख्याल में सारी फेजेस इंपॉर्टेंट है, किसी एक को भी नहीं कम इंपॉर्टेंट कहा जा सकता, तो भी आपने उसकी what you have to do is you have to give me the reason of your answer. Question 2 is, can you draw the complete circle of happenings of all the phases? I have given you 4 parts of the circle, and what you have to do is you have to pick up all the 4 parts and you have to arrange them in a circle, and you have to draw a complete circle of the happenings of all the phases. I think this is easy. I don't think so there will be any difficulty on doing this. Question 3 is, what if we don't follow the PQ in a process, right? So if I'm not following the performance qualification, what can be the drawback? What can be the side effect of that thing, right? You have to give me the answer of this question as well. Question number 4 is, can you apply your understanding of validation on a pharmaceutical company? This will be a bit tricky, I know, but you have to go through all the lecture, the previous lecture and this lecture, and then you can easily apply the whole system of validation to a pharmaceutical company. That means you have a pharmaceutical company and you are manufacturing some products, some drugs, some medicines. So starting from the design qualification and going up to the performance qualification, you have to apply your concept on a pharmaceutical company, right? Okay, good. So stay safe and keep studying chemistry. All the best. Assalamu alaikum.